Hey y'all, it's your girl Charity B, and welcome to the I'm Enough Mastering Self-Love podcast. This podcast was designed for both men and women who are in the process or wanting to start their self-love journey. Here we discuss many topics related to self-love that promotes healthy habits that will help support your mental and emotional health, boost self-confidence, and self-worth. So get ready. This is something you don't want to miss. If you like what you hear in this episode, feel free to DM me and leave comments on my Instagram page at iam.enoughmsl. The podcast is also available on YouTube. The link will be in my description box as well as on my Instagram page. Hey y'all, welcome back to the I'm Enough Mastering Self-Love podcast. It's your girl Charity B. As usual, I hope you guys are doing great and had a productive week. I can say that I'm feeling good myself. I cannot complain. And I can say I had a productive week as well. But we're not going to get too much into Charity's life this week because we have a lot of content, great content today that I want you guys to be able to hear. So I'm going to go ahead and get into what we're going to be discussing. So this week, I wanted to take the time out and do an episode dedicated to those who have children currently or in the future plan on having kids themselves. If you're not aware, practicing self-love actually should start at younger ages. It is said that children's self-esteem starts to develop between the ages of 4 and 11. And it also says that, well, a lot of studies show that children who have a positive view of themselves are more likely to have a growth mindset, meaning they're willing to try new things, take on new challenges, strive to do their best, know how to cope with and learn from their mistakes better than others who do not have a high self-esteem. If you really think about it, some childhood traumas that we deal with as children can hinder us in our adulthood when it comes to our personal relationships. And it's not just about personal relationships with others. It could be personal relationships with ourselves, always trying to find something to fix, or your insecurities are just big part of your life, trying to fix on that, work on that, or you put your insecurities on other people, etc. For example, your parent may have never showed you the love that you needed or ignored you as a child, and you're probably someone now who has abandonment issues, or you try to find love or seek love in other people to fill that void of not having that love as a child. And it definitely can down your self-esteem and self-confidence of who you are. You probably just don't know who you are because of the things you have dealt with as a child. So it just goes to say, like, imagine as an adult trying to deal with all that baggage and unboggle it and try to lay it all out just to get your life right, and trying to spend all this time practicing self-love, when if somebody just took the time out of their day to, love on yourself, you are amazing, you are beautiful, etc., and show you what it means to love yourself and show you some compassion and some unconditional love, you probably have higher self-esteem and self-confidence and stop trying to seek validation from others, or even just setting boundaries and keeping those boundaries. Because it's a lot of us out here that know how to set boundaries, but we don't know how to tell people or to stop people from violating our boundaries or remove ourselves when people do violate our boundaries. So this is why I wanted to do this episode, because now that you know how much it is a struggle to get past that and trying to learn how to love on yourself, and you adult now, it can be hard. Why not let's teach our children how to practice that at a younger age so they don't have to go through that as an adult, and they learn how to be happy with themselves as in those early ages. And especially nowadays, because we do live in a social media era, or social media is a big thing, and people have a big idea of what people are supposed to do and what people are supposed to look like. So with that being said, I wanted to do an episode. With that being said, one of the biggest things that I think that would hinder a child in their confidence outside of their parents would be, their body image. Like I said, we live in social media times. Everybody has an idea what a perfect body is supposed to look like. And as a teenager, of course, or a younger child, you're like, well, I don't look like this. You want to start making yourself look like older people and you're not even in that state. I think it's very important for us parents, or even if you are somebody in the profession where you deal with kids a lot, whether it's teacher, after school program, etc. I think it's important for us to take time out of our day to let kids know, no matter what shape, size, color you are perfect just the way you are, and you should never feel less than for being yourself. So, with that being said, I did decide to invite a special guest who specializes in wanting to change the world's idea of body image by expressing her body image and self-confidence journey with us. Today, our special guest is Pam Luk, who is the founder of Ember Ace, an athletic wear brand for plus size kids. She understands what it means to be plus size while also being an active, healthy adult and child. Growing up, she also played sports herself, and she knows how important it is to be able to find athletic wear that is comfortable. So she created her brand to ensure that her daughter and other children are comfortable in the clothes they wear during sporting activities. Pam wants to bring more awareness around body diversity, as well as teach parents how to talk to their children about embracing body differences and provide tools that they can utilize when shopping for a plus size kid. Pam wants to bring more awareness around body diversity, as well as teach parents how to talk to their children about embracing body differences and provide tools that parents can utilize when shopping for a plus size kid. So I invited Pam here today to give us some tips about how we can change our negative views about bodies, whether you are a plus size parent yourself or person, or you have a plus size kid, or you're not even plus size and you tend to be someone who judges other people for the way they look. So with further ado, let's get started. Alrighty, so guys, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Welcome, Pam Luk. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good myself. We're happy to have you at the I'm Enough Mastering Self Love podcast. As you know, you are my first guest here, my first real, we're not saying real guest, first guest that I don't know, So I'm glad to have you here. The first question that I would like to ask you, just give us a little background. I know a little bit about you, but the people, tell a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a company that I started a few years ago called Ember Ace, and it is an athletic wear line for plus size kids, exclusively for plus size kids. And it's a very sort of long sort of journey to get to that point, but it started with me being plus size as a kid. I've been big, you could see it in second grade, and then when puberty hit, like in fifth grade, you're like, yep, okay, I'm gonna be a bigger girl.
Yeah.
But I loved soccer. I played soccer since I was like in elementary school, and I danced. I took tap, jazz, and ballet again from a young age. And by the time I got to high school, I couldn't find, it was hard to find athletic wear that fit and leotards that fit my body. And I remember this was, I'm old. So this was back in the day before online shopping. And I had to go to like a sporting goods store to try and find stuff that fit. And I had to go to the men's section and, look for a men's extra large or like a double extra large and just hope that it was going to be big enough. And of course, like the pants were way too long because they thought I was going to be like, 6 feet tall, and it never fit right in the chest, right? Because men's chest measurements are never going to work for women. So it was just kind of awkward. And, it makes it hard to keep doing the things that you like to do.
Yeah.
So you fast forward to today, I have a daughter who's also in a bigger body and loves to dance, and we're still struggling.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, why is this still a problem?
I agree.
I'm just like, how have we not sort of tried to take care of this? So I said, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do this. So I started Ember Ace. Yeah. And because I think it's so hugely important, first of all, to sort of get rid of this idea that kids in bigger bodies don't like sports and athletics. Yeah. And, I think we didn't need to talk about that. One of the reasons kids quit is because like the uniforms don't fit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which is sad.
It's sad. And again, I think it's it puts a lot of pressure on kids because I don't know about you, but at like 15, I'm not going to speak up and say either to my coach or to my parents, this doesn't fit me right, or you don't have my size. A lot of kids just quit and they just say I don't like it anymore. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
When in reality, it it's because, my shirt rides up and doesn't cover my belly and the shorts don't fit in the leg and all the other things. But that's a lot at 15 or 14 or whatever age to sort of, first of all, you're dealing with that being uncomfortable and feeling awkward in your own body, but then to have to speak up about that and sort of say, hey. So I'm hoping that, we can start to just make adults more aware and just offer more sizes and uniforms. And, for a brand like mine to give kids options that fit their bodies so that they can go do the things they want to do.
I think it's really great what you're doing. Because as a child, I know as an adult now, because I am thicker now, that it's hard to now find things in my size or going to store. So I do online shopping, but just imagining as a kid trying to go through all this and find something comfortable and getting frustrated and going through all these unnecessary emotions just to find something that makes them comfortable and doing something that they enjoy doing. So I really do applaud you for that,
Thank
because
you.
I understand it can be frustrating.
Well, I mean, just think about how frustrated you are now as an adult.
Yeah,
Still,
exactly.
how much time does it take you to like go online? How many places do you have to look? How many
Let's not get
sizes
into
do you
that.
order?
Yeah. And waste money half the time. Like these places, when you return it, you get a gift card. You can't even get your money back. So it's
Right.
like, imagine being a kid, like, oh my God, like, wow, I didn't ask for this. I just want to be
Mm-mm.
comfortable in my body and have fun and be a kid. So yeah, it's really great that you are creating your brand. You created your brand to aim towards, plus size kids so that they can be comfortable and be a kid. Yeah, that's a great thing. I did want to ask, so like as when you're a child, did you have that support system as your daughter has as growing up?
I mean, I'll be honest, it was diet culture is a thing, right?
Yeah.
Diet culture is still a thing. And it was very much sort of a big, there was less sort of support generally for it. My parents, I would say, sort of landed somewhere in the middle a little bit. I mean, I think they didn't be on any really strict diets or anything like that, but it was sort of this, there was this idea that there was something wrong with my body, right? And
Yeah.
it was more just we'll try and you should dance more and you should play more, but they tried to help find stuff that fit. And my mom can sew, which was helpful. But there was definitely, I don't think more broadly, this sort of idea that there was nothing wrong with my body. It was more like maybe she'll outgrow it, right? Because puberty, if you go back and look at your pictures from that age, everybody sort of fills out before they all shoot up and get taller.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a little bit of maybe she'll grow out of it, or maybe we'll just keep encouraging, you know, we'll all eat healthy, air quotes healthy, and move our bodies and stuff. So I feel like it, and from a family perspective, it was okay. I got teased. I mean, but that still happens today, right? With kids trying to find
Yeah.
ways to unfortunately be awful and try to make you feel awful. So,
Yeah.
but there were definitely like fewer shopping options. Like I feel like it's still hard today, but there was like no online. So it was like the stores that you could get to,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
either, and you had to like rely on your parents because, you don't get your license until you're older and then you don't even still have a car. You have to
Yeah.
ask to borrow the car. So you were very limited to sort of what was around.
Yeah.
Um, and that made it even harder. So yeah, I mean, I think it was tough, but I mean, I had good friends and, I did give up on dance at a certain point and I didn't play soccer after high
Oh,
school.
wow.
Yeah, so I will say I think I sort of let some of that steal my joy,
Yeah.
right?
And I get it, because it gets frustrating. Like I said, because like I talk about this often on my podcast. I have a condition. I have PCOS, polycystic
Mhm.
ovarian syndrome. So when I was younger, I was on the slimmer side up until 21. And
Yeah.
then I got on birth control and I like, boo, and then I got off and then boom, it got worse. So I understand it can be frustrating and all the emotions that overwhelm you because you feel like you got to fix something, but it's like, it's not a fix. It's just something you have to be comfortable, I guess, in your body. But having that support system and family is very important. I don't think people understand how important it is because even now, people are like, oh, you gain weight, da da da. And it's like, well, are you trying to like say, well, eat this or work out and do that? But listen, I was very active. I played volleyball and I was really good at it. But it's like, come on now. You saying, what you think I'm doing? I am working, I am active. Sometimes you can't just sit here and just think that saying those things are encouraging. Sometimes you just don't say anything.
Yeah.
You just don't say anything. But with that being said, how did you overcome like those differences? How did you cope with everything or become comfortable with being, comfortable in your own body?
Yeah, it's a journey, and I'm not going to say it's, all it doesn't happen overnight for sure. And I'll be honest, I still have tough days. Like, I think everybody just has to remember that we're all human and people. And, when you're tired or when you're having a rough day, that stuff comes up. So I think for me, I have gotten to a place where I understand, I don't want to be doing this weight loss thing because it's not good for your body. And I do a ton of things that are beneficial for my health and I love to move my body, but I'm never going to really focus on losing weight. And so I've been able to sort of let go of all of that because I know the things that I do that are good for me, for my physical health and for my mental health and all of those positive things. And I focus more on those kinds of things. And it's really about the kind of people you keep in your life.
That's true. That's true.
Right?
I always preach about how you gotta like surround people with like surround yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with people you want to be like, or like not even just be like, but people you look up to who are living the path that you're trying to be on. Because if you focus on what everybody else is doing that's not on your aligned path, it's easy to get distracted, easy to get frustrated and not feel so good about yourself. And it's like I can always say you've been 24/7 with yourself. So why be unhappy or allow other people to make you unhappy? And you're just gonna be by yourself. You're the only person that's dealing with the suffering and the emotions,
And
So,
it's you and your body. That's a lifelong relationship,
yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
lifelong.
And it's like, I think people gotta be understanding that you're going to change as you get older. Your body changes. So if you smile now, don't get too happy. You might gain some weight later on, but then like just it's like you said, it's a journey, Some days you're gonna feel off, some days you're gonna feel like, okay, we doing this thing. I'm the best baddie you ever seen. You gonna feel good about yourself. Well, you have your ups and downs. I think when we get comfortable with knowing that and being comfortable, like, okay, well, it is what it is. This is a bad day. Tomorrow is going to be a good day. We're going to make sure. Let's just do it over again.
That's right.
So that's what I say. That's what keeps me going. Cause like, I think now I struggle more with my weight gain because my PCOS. So like, it was a very, like you said, it was a rough journey at first. I would get depressed. I think this was the biggest I had ever been. So it was just like, what's going on with my body? Like I'm gaining weight like that. But it's like, I stopped paying attention to the number on the scale and start paying attention to what I put in my body, exercising and all of that. That helped me stop focusing on what I look like, and yeah, just I just like focus on my happiness more. Like I'm just gonna be happy with myself. So based on what you said, do you think like after your childhood is when you were like comfortable with yourself, or like just saying, forget what everybody else say about me or think about me?
I think it's a couple of stages. I mean, I'm 50 now. So I would say sort of the first stage is as you get, for me, when I got closer to 30, the first phase is and I wish I had learned this earlier, I really got to stop worrying about what other people think of me. I really do. Because I can't control it, for starters. And I also am like, why am I letting other people decide who I get to be and what I get to look like? Why am I handing over that control and that power to somebody else?
Yeah, they don't that.
No. So it
Yeah.
some of that started, I would say, in my early 30s, because you just are like, I don't have the energy to care about all these things anymore. It's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think for me, in terms of really getting super comfortable with my body, it came later. And honestly, one of the biggest turning points for me was when I got pregnant and figured out and learned that I was having a daughter. And I said, look, I cannot sort of bring all of this sort of thinking along with me with her. So it
Yeah.
was very much I have to get my own house in order because I don't want this for my child.
Yeah.
And so that was when I did a lot of, I did a lot of reading. The two people that I read that I think really had the biggest impact would be Sonia Renee Taylor's book, The Body's Not an Apology. And then Jess Baker wrote a couple of books, but it was really just sort of learning to understand that I'll give you Sonia Renee, I think is Sonia Renee Taylor is one of the best on this topic. And she's like, we celebrate diversity in like cows and mushrooms and trees and all these other things, but we somehow, when it comes to humans, we think that they're all should be thin and small and look the same. And she's like, and that doesn't sort of make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right. In the same way that you have diversity across the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, you have the same thing in humans. And so, sort of her teaching how to sort of get to a place of acceptance and love for who you are was a big piece of that. And sort of looking at the kinds of things that I'm reading, the kinds of things that I'm watching. Who am I following on social media? What kind of information am I taking in on a daily basis?
That's the thing. That's
That's
one.
the thing.
Yeah, especially because we live in social media society. I always say that it's kind of hard. Well, I don't care, but I know it's hard for other people, who are like struggling with, their body image. You see a lot of things on social media that everybody has that idea of what a perfect body looks like. And then when you go get the perfect body, ooh, you got this BBL or you got this and that, you got this done. And it's like, well, didn't y'all just say that this is the ideal body? So it's like, ooh, but I do respect the fact that you made sure when you did get pregnant with your daughter that you changed the cycle. You changed, you had what you needed in order to make sure she could grow up and have that high self-esteem and confidence in herself and be okay with what she looks like. I feel like a lot of people or a lot of parents tend to, I guess they don't really focus on that. They kind of put their insecurities on their children. And that you got to realize your child is still a child. So you have to train them in a way that they need to understand, to where they can understand what they look like, how they feel, understand how to feel, understand what other people feel like and look like. It's okay to be different. It's okay not to be the same. And like you said, kids are mean. Like they could be very, very mean. Yeah. So I just know I do respect that, because a lot of parents don't think about that. And I know if it's like something that you don't plan, especially your pregnancy, it's like you have to think about the fact that like how that made you feel. How like when you were younger, no one was there for you to support you. It's like kind of consider that when you raise your kids. Don't try to put those same traumatic events or have those same habits with them. It just repeats the cycle, and they're gonna be sad. They feel like they don't have anybody to go to, So it's like I really do like that you said that.
Yeah. I mean, and I get it. It's hard because diet culture is everywhere, right? So it's hard.
Yeah. It's like
you're swimming upstream,
Is there something else we could talk about? Because I don't want to do the flat tummy tea and all of that. Why are we talking about this? And diet pills and stuff like that. Honestly, from what I've heard, a lot of doing too many diet pills and all of this stuff can actually affect your health and make it worse. I don't know. I'd rather be healthy than on the inside than, worried about how I look on the outside. Because if I'm healthy on the inside, I could be skinny and have the worst health and be plus size or, a little thicker and be healthier than a skinny person. So it's just like, I guess it's just what's more important to you, I guess you could say.
Well, and I mean, you've already talked about, you don't have a lot of control, right? Sometimes there's things going on with your body that you just don't.
Yeah.
I think, right. I think that's part of it, is that we all have this sort of this it's a myth that you have complete control over the size of your body. There are so many different types of disease and illness that impact your size, and medications that impact your size, and genetics
Yes.
and socioeconomics. I mean, we could keep going. We could keep going. The list of things that impact your body that you have control over aren't as many things as you think. There's so many other influences that are impacting. So how can you get to a place of understanding that bodies change all the time,
Yeah.
and that you're going to have to continue on a daily basis to try and do your best, but that control is real. Control of all of those factors is really just an illusion at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I was just thinking, I was like, it's like an illusion because it's not making sense. I
Yeah.
feel like if I stress myself trying to look like Stacy, I'm just gonna feel I'm probably gonna start looking worse because I'm trying to look like somebody else. So it's like I think it is an illusion. Just be yourself. I think that it's important to be yourself because ain't nothing like trying to be like somebody else. You're gonna be unhappy. I don't know. My main goal is being happy. I always tell my friends that I don't like feeling like I'm, you know, sad, like, or somebody's making me sad for something that I can change myself, you know?
Yeah.
Like, girl, I just don't have time. But what I was gonna ask you, so do you think, or like, why do you think it's important for a child to have that support system when it comes to like body differences, if they are different?
I think because you have to navigate all these good days and bad days, and you have to navigate a culture that still puts priority on thinness and whiteness, right? And so it's important to be that these kids get support and they learn that, you know, their body is a good body. There are no bad bodies, right, that exist. And I think by having these kids stay engaged with their classmates and friends and peers is a huge sort of, I think we lose that piece sometimes when we talk about kids doing sports and dance and athletics and things. Part of the reason that you're there is because that's where your friends are, right? That's where your classmates are. Those are the people you're spending time with. And so the other piece of this is keeping these kids from getting isolated. And it's that connection, right?
Yeah.
And support that you're getting not only from your own family, but from the other kids around you. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, when you're talking about body diversity, it's not just good for the plus size kids. It's good for thin kids to see these kids and be like, hey, they go to the same dance classes as me and they go to the same practices as me, and they're pretty good,
Yeah.
but their body is just different. And so we start to sort of break down some of these ideas that kids in bigger bodies don't like to exercise, or kids in bigger bodies aren't good at sports. And so you're changing that narrative not only for plus size kids, but you're changing it for all the kids that they're now spending time with. So I think it's how you start to shift this perspective is by keeping these kids included in community with other kids.
Yeah, I agree. You're right about that. It's not just about changing the narrative for the plus size kids. Because I feel like if the thin kids see that, okay, well, they can do that too. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, nothing to be like, oh, razzle dazzle, but like that doesn't make them different from you, you know? It's okay to be different. And I think that will be if people teach their children that it's okay to be different, it's less likely to be bullying other kids and all of these mishaps that happen because they don't understand differences and all of that. And but that is a good thing though. So the next thing I wanted to say was that so parents tend to like try to fix the situation because they don't understand it. If you are like someone who is on their smaller side and you have a plus size kid, I know you wouldn't understand how to go about helping them with the you know, loving or really just trying to embrace who they are, and they try to tend to fix the problem with like these diets and all that. Like, what is your viewpoint of that, or some tips that you can give someone who has a plus size child and can't relate?
Yeah. I think part of it is starting with that there's nothing to fix, right? Try to get your own head straight around the idea that bodies come in all different sizes and they will continue to change over your entire lifetime. And I think part of it is just really getting curious about what are your own views and how do you talk about your body? How do you talk about your child's
Mm-hmm.
body? And so stopping a lot of that talk about individual bodies, we should all stop talking about individual bodies. We really just should. Big, small, just stop commenting on bodies altogether.
Yeah.
Because you really don't know anybody's story, and there's just no need for it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think is, how are you making sure that both you and your child are sort of exposed to people in bigger bodies that are living happy, full lives? Like, who do you see on social media that you can follow? There are dancers and athletes. I mean, do you follow Lizzo? Right? I mean, like, there are people that are doing these amazing things and living these amazing lives, and they're doing it in not thin bodies, right? So part of it is, what is your sort of universe that this kid is seeing? If they're struggling with how they look, how are you showing them, if it's not you because you're thin, right? How are you showing your child people in bigger bodies that are killing it?
Yeah, that's true. That is very, very true. So it kind of like starts with the parent of what they, I guess, believe in, you would say, like, or
Yeah.
how they view things or view themselves. Basically, that's why I was like, yeah, I feel like people put their insecurities on their own children, because they don't even know themselves how they feel about themselves, or they're insecure about themselves. I mean, you have to want, like I said, you have to want better for your child. And exposing them to other different people does help, sizes, all different sizes, shapes, forms, color, all of that. So I think that is important myself too. And I'm not saying that nothing's wrong with, eating healthier foods, but like strict dieting plans and all that is not necessary, because at the end of the day, it's still a child, still a child that acts to look like this. That's just how they are. And you just have to accept that,
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about as far as dieting. I think it's unnecessary for the child to be,
Well, and if you look at all the data around dieting, even for adults, if the success rate when you're more than 5 years out off of a diet is less than 10%. So diets fail more than 90% of the time once you're past the 5-year mark. Some people are successful for a couple of years, but ultimately it's not successful. So if you have something where the failure rate is above 90%, why would you keep considering that as an option to consider?
Yeah.
Is there any other part of your life?
They think that it's just something to do. Some people do it out of concern, but it's just like, for what it's not going to work in the end. And I think it also can like hurt that child's self-esteem. Like, oh, well, there's something wrong with me, I need to fix it. So let's just say, like, oh, one day they lose all the weight, and then so happen they gain weight again. It's going to like struck their self-esteem again. They might be like, oh, I have to fix the problem because something is wrong with me. And it's like, you just making that child more insecure and damaged in the long run. And it's like, I get you concerned, but don't make it seem like, oh, you got to fix something about yourself because it's just something's wrong with you because you're not small. Like,
and like you said, it's gonna change throughout your whole lifetime. So focus on, what are the things that make my body feel good? What are the things that make me help my mental health, help my physical health, and focus on those things. And your body's going to do sort of what your body's going to do. It may get smaller, it may not. There's so many other.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's okay. I think, yeah, like for me, I had to be like, it's okay. It's okay, girl. We gonna get there if that's the case. But if not, somebody gonna love me. I'm gonna love myself,
That's right.
So it's just like, whatever, child. I don't even care. But so if that's a like immediate reaction, oh, let's get you on a meal plan, what would you say they should switch that out with? What would be like your immediate action, like in regards to that?
I mean, I personally I've read around what's called intuitive eating, which is where you don't have foods that are completely off limits, because that's what creates this like over excessive fascination or focus on a food. Think about it. The one time, if you say you're not going to have any chocolate in the house, what's the only thing you can think about?
Chocolate. That's
Thank
true.
you. So it's about it's the idea of trying to eat a variety of things, and what do you like, and how does your body feel after you eat a certain type of food, right? And so it's keep everything in play. There are no good and bad foods, right? It's all just food. And so, but understanding different things help your body in different ways. So how can we bring in variety and you're still allowed to enjoy the things that you enjoy? And I think that's one thing that we all have to just remember. Yes, food is about fueling your body, but food is also very much tied to celebration in basically every culture on the planet.
That's true. That is true.
Right?
We love to eat.
So I think it's a trying to not create like a fear and restriction around those things, and just saying let's eat a variety of foods and let's see how your body feels. And that's sort of, and also I think a lot of people, you just get so hungry throughout the day because you restrict, that it makes things even more challenging. So try to get to a more neutral place with how you eat and what you eat.
Yeah. And I think not just like you said, not cutting those things completely out, because like, people always, well, back then when people didn't know really much about food, they'd be like, cut the carbs out, you'll lose weight. But you
Right.
need carbs actually. So it gives you some type of form of energy. I mean, not your whole plate got to be full of carbs, but you kind of need it in your diet. So I always say restrict everything. I mean, sweets, maybe. It's okay to have a piece of chocolate every now and then. I guess you just got to be in that mindset, like it's okay for them to have that. Like I said, I don't know, it's kind of different. I don't have kids, but I'm assuming like as a child, they still got to be a child. They still want some candy. They still want a snack here or there, a little juice and stuff. So I mean, you can't just be like, oh, you can't eat nothing but broccoli and corn and that's it, and we're gonna call it a day. Like, I'm just gonna make that child miserable. So yeah, no, I don't agree with the whole restriction thing. I think that too, but I would hope when I become a parent that I'm more mindful of, things that I do, change it, and or how I was raised, change it to make it better for my child.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important, like things have changed since we were growing up, right? And it's okay. I like to read different books that help, you know what I mean? Because look, even with science, Pluto was a planet when I was a kid, and it's not, then it wasn't a planet, and now I think it's back to being a dwarf planet. But my point is, things change, right? We learn more about the body, we learn more about food, and so maybe it's not how we all had the food pyramid growing up, and so it's just things are different now. So don't be afraid to sort of say, maybe I don't understand this, and go learn more about intuitive eating, or reading about, there's a book called Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison, which I think is really a good read. So understand that things are very different maybe from when you were young, and maybe you just want to take a different path with your own family.
Yeah.
Then just go out and, do some work and try to figure out what you want to, what approach you want to take. And I do suggest people read more about intuitive eating as part of that journey, and just sort of get comfortable with sweets and treats, and sort of getting rid of the old mentality of, keeping things completely off limits in your house and things like that. So
I agree with that. So, as far as your daughter, because I know you mentioned she is also plus size, right, as well. So, do you see that, since she does have that support system with you, do you see that difference versus how you were? You really didn't have that as far as her self-esteem. Do you see that difference? That support?
I would like to say yes, but she's a teenager, so time will tell, because it's not like she comes home and tells me all the wonderful ways in which I've done a good job. But I think we keep trying, right? And I do think it makes a difference for her. And I do think there's a ton of people that are advocating around, body inclusion and body acceptance. And so I think it's a better sort of universe that she's moving in than, say, the one we were moving in 20 or 30 years ago. So I think it's better, but I mean, it's diet culture is still everywhere. So I feel like it's, at the end of the day, at least our home is a place where, when she's had struggles outside in the world, whether it be, at dance or at school, or just, just being in public, sometimes, people will say things to you on the bus, but
True.
That being at home is sort of a safe space for her, where she doesn't sort of have to handle all of those pressures and all of those sort of people that have opinions and ideas about who she should be. So at a minimum, I try to hope that some days is enough. It's hard. I mean, as a parent, you never really sort of feel like we're all just doing our best on any given day.
What you got? That's basically it. But I would assume that it does. She has a safe space to be able to open up, like you said, and express how she feels and how things make her feel. So I'm sure she has her bad days as well. Like you said, she's a teenager, probably more than normal, because I remember those days, because even those times, like everything is just coming to an end when it's not. But yeah.
Would you go back to being a teenager?
No.
Exactly.
No. I feel like, yeah, no. I didn't have a bad teenage, but it wasn't my best years. I'll do college again, but I don't care to be a teenager again. I feel
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to handle. And like I said, I don't know, being a kid, other kids can be mean at once, and there's a lot of peer pressure, things that I don't need in my life. It's not like unnecessary stress, but it does make you who you are. But I don't care to.
You're like, no, that's a hard pass. No, thank you.
Yeah, no. How about you?
Nope. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much growth and change, both physically and mentally, during those years. And
yes,
yeah, I mean,
it can cause some kind of confusion sometimes, because you don't know what to do. You got all these hormones rushing through your body, for one, and you've never been here before, basically. So it's just a lot going on. It's just like, I'm trying to figure myself out. I mean, even in college, like the first year, but it was better than trying to start as a teenager and trying to deal with all those emotions, especially if you're someone who don't really just, talk about how you feeling. So I'm that person. I don't like to, but I do it now. But back then, I was very like closed. So I didn't like to express myself. I don't think it made me bad or like affected me in some type of way, but now looking back, it's okay to be vulnerable. You need to express yourself, but no, ma'am.
Yeah.
I feel like it's those times where you think you know everything, but you don't know nothing. So no, ma'am, make those mistakes. Don't make those. Don't make those again, because I was like, So yeah. So what age did you like start explaining to your daughter that, there are different bodies out here, everybody's not the same?
Yeah. I mean, I think you can start from like the kinds of books you even read, like picture books as a child, like as a baby. It's all just about what's an age appropriate way to sort of introduce these ideas. And so it's around, do the picture books that you have, and this body diversity across all spectrums. Like there should be, boys and girls and Black kids and Asian kids and white kids and bigger body kids and thin kids. Like you should start showing them the diversity of the world and all of the beautiful things about it. And then, just starting to talk about, some bodies are bigger than others and all bodies are good bodies. And what is your body able to do? And sort of focusing on the things that you can do when you have a strong body. There's things you can do, like you can probably be a better weightlifter, and even just like things like hiking and backpacking, carrying a heavy pack when you're bigger and stronger and have a bigger frame. So it's really just about trying to find age appropriate ways to start to introduce the idea of differences in bodies and that they're all good bodies. And then when you start having conversations around privilege, you talk about not only white privilege, but you talk about thin privilege. And, as your kids start to get older, you start to really touch on sort of the way society is, and, that we're all working toward making changes and making things better. But when you have a teenager, you have to have conversations about thin privilege because it exists.
Because it does. I don't think I've ever experienced it, but I've seen it happen before.
Well, even just the idea that you can walk into basically any store in any town and pull something off the rack and walk to the register.
Must be nice, girl.
Never in my life have I ever. Every single, back when they used to have malls when I was growing up, okay? I have never been able to walk into every single store in the mall and pull something off the rack and pay for it and walk out the door. If I was lucky, there was one store
that you could do that at.
Somewhere in town.
It just amazed me. Like, for example, Forever 21, like I used to be able to go there all the time, but now I'm in there, I'm like, what's these sizes? This not no, this large is not a large, or this extra large is not a large. Like, I mean, extra large, like it's giving medium, it's getting small. Like, I don't know. Did y'all use the same? Like, did y'all mistakenly put the wrong size on there or something? But
yeah. The sizing is just like, I feel like it's made up because it varies so much across every single.
Yeah, it depends, I guess, on the material they're using. But they need to do something else, because I'm not trying to, it's not giving. You're not gonna have me as a customer because I can't find anything that fits me and I feel comfortable in. But it's important to find something that you're comfortable. It is nothing like putting on something that's not comfortable to you and having to walk throughout the day. Like, how can you have that confidence if you don't feel comfortable in the clothes that you wear?
Exactly. You know? I mean, we've all had that experience. If something doesn't fit quite right, or is too small, it's impossible, like you said, to feel confident.
Yeah, that's. But hopefully that they. So why do you think that they don't make that the clothes how they need to, or make it to be comfortable for everyone, every size and shape?
There's a lot of reasons. I mean, I think it all points back to diet culture and the idea that we value thinness. And there are designers who don't want to dress you if you're in a bigger body. They don't want to see a body like mine walking around in their clothing. They just don't.
That's
right?
crazy.
Wow. Well, I mean, just think about, like, models are all a size 0. Right? Yeah. And so, that is the aesthetic that they want to dress.
Yeah.
And this idea that those bodies are better, right? That still persists. So I want to dress the better bodies. Right.
So I guess they try to do it to promote you to get thinner. That's not going to happen if my body don't feel like it,
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always an exclusiveness, right, around being in the body that can fit all these things. And yeah.
That just sucks. It really does.
Yes, it does.
It just sucks. It does, because it's like, dang, I want to look cute too. Like,
exactly.
I have those nice clothes and stuff. I don't want to feel. Why make me feel like less than because my body, like you said, you don't have control of those things. Like, say for instance, you are trying to eat healthy, you are exercising, like you're active. You play soccer, like it's not you chose. Okay, let me just. This is my body. Like, why do you have to shame me for just being me? You know.
And when has shame ever worked for anything?
It doesn't. It just belittles somebody, make them feel less than. Like, what gratification do you get from doing that? Making somebody feel less than. Like, it sounds like you really have the issue, the problem with yourself if you have to belittle somebody or make them feel less than just to prove a point, Yeah.
And I think you sort of touched on it a little bit earlier. I think a lot of times the other thing that I hope, younger teens and older teens can start to understand, when somebody is teasing or bullying you or making unkind comments about you, it's almost always about them.
It is.
They are talking about the thing that they are most fearful of or uncomfortable with or bothered by around their own situation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're able to learn that, it's so much easier just to say goodbye to those people, because it really is it's about them. It's not about you.
That's true. That's why I was like, well, for this episode, I was like, it's important to show your kids, like, if we provide that or show them that it's okay to practice self-love and show them how to do it, that will help them to be able to set those boundaries for themselves and keep those boundaries as far as when there are toxic people coming in and trying to like belittle them for being who they are. They won't have to deal with those unnecessary issues or people that don't need to be in their life to make them feel less than. They'll know that they're perfect the way they are. Like, life goes on. You just be you. You'll be more happier. You'll feel better about yourself. And I think we wouldn't struggle as older adults trying to figure out, well, how do I make myself happy? How do I be happy with myself? I'm trying to spend years trying to figure that out. When you can like teach your children this at a young age on how to, or provide them that unconditional love. Like when I was little, my mother always, like Valentine's Day, every holiday, she would cook me nice little breakfast, put on the tray, have balloons and all that. So when I got older, even to this day, I don't really care about Valentine's Day, because even my brother, he gives me flowers every Valentine's Day. I don't need it from nobody else, because as I grow older, I got that love, that unconditional love, that compassion, that patience from my mother, so that I didn't have to want that from nobody else. I was comfortable with being myself and not having to get that materialistic things from anybody else. But yeah, that sounds like you gotta watch what you say and how you handle your kids. For one, like you say, you gotta watch what you allow your kids to see, what you feed into them, and what just what they see. I know it's kind of hard because of social media, because they got iPads and iPhones. We didn't have that back then. Right. So I'm just like, it's hard, but we can do it.
You can start during the early years when you have a little bit more sort of control over the media that they're ingesting. You try to build this really strong foundation, and it does get tougher, when they're teens and have their own accounts. And but part of that is also everybody has to learn about setting boundaries and holding those boundaries. And that also applies to social media. Like, what are the kinds of accounts that you're giving your time and attention to? And I have limits on my social media. I have timers on my phone and things that say, look, you've been on for 20 minutes and you're done for the day. I also shut it down, at an hour hour and a half before I go to bed. I do not need to be on my phone that late at night with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's because, child, if you go on there doing everything, trying to do everything, I'm like, but it's crazy. You know how like not that long ago it was the BBL wave, and now it's the gym wave. It's a lot of gym influencers, which I appreciate, but it's a lot going on. And then I don't know, I guess now I'm starting to realize, because I have a friend, she's actually in them. She came a long way because we was in college, but she now, builds. She's the only person that I'm going to listen to when it comes to workouts, honestly, because I feel like people be posting things that probably don't even know what they're talking about and then call themselves a gym influencer. But it's like more of a gym influencer wave. I accept the healthy ways. People try to tell you how to do herbs and eat healthier and give you meal ideas. That's totally fine, but it's just hard to get away from social media. Because now, I said that yesterday, I was like, we got to change this algorithm, because it was just gym people. Weights. I was like, okay, let me get off of here. Like, where's the people like, okay, let's just be confident and love on what we look like. Can we just do that for a change? Can we just
and I think you sort of touched on something that's really important. We need to start having real conversations about media literacy and social media literacy as well. How do you know if something's a reputable source? How do you know, and do you understand what's driving this person? Right? Are they an actual expert, or are they just, sort of, how are you discerning who you listen to and who gets your time and energy? And, are they an influencer, and what are they bringing to that in terms of their background? And so a lot of it is, and do you understand even what the algorithm is about? And do you understand what influencers are trying to do? It's right there in the name, right? They are trying to influence your decision-making, and who are you allowing to do that? So I think we really need to have some real conversations around media literacy in particular when it comes to teenagers.
Yeah, and I feel like they the main targets in this situation, because I feel like they're, like I said, they just trying to figure things out. They in emotion. They just going with the flow because they new here. They don't know they don't know how to deal with the emotions and the hormones and everything. They that's when they start like looking at their body the most. So I think that it's aimed towards them. But me personally, I'd be like, okay, we're gonna close out this app. Sometimes I even delete the app and I go away and go on hiatus. Like me personally, I love hiatus. I'll go. I'm like, girl, I'm gonna talk to you later. I'm gonna talk to you 2-3 days later, because I need I need to get my mind together. I need to be able to think for myself and not thinking like, oh, social media started to think for me.
Yeah.
I don't like to be in that type of emotion in that wave. I'm just like, and it's kind of hard to get away from it because we kind of do need the social media a little bit, but and that's where everything is. So if you like completely don't use social media, you're kind of lost because you're not a part of the wave. So it's like, child, like you said, just trying to filter in the type of content that you want to listen to or you want to follow and subscribe and figure out who you're following and why you're following them. Have a reason behind it, not just following them, because they showed you one workout and it looked cool, you know?
Yeah.
Just have a reason behind it and filtering the right content.
Yeah. I'm so glad social media didn't exist when I was a teenager. I'm not gonna lie.
I think I had trying to start it, just started, you know, popping out when I think Facebook was back in, I want to say Snapchat. Yeah. Maybe. What was I like? I was 13, like in 2013. So
okay.
Yeah. Maybe was I somewhere around the ages, child? I don't remember. But I feel old now. I'm only 25. So
look, there was absolutely no internet and so no social media when I was a teenager. You're welcome. Now you can feel young.
Yeah, that helped a little, just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds like a good time to me. Just enjoying life, going outside. That sounds fun to me. Just being a kid. I was back then, like, I like playing outside. You know, I don't want to look at no iPad and no phone. I want to go outside and play with my neighborhood friends. So that was a good time to me.
I will say this, like, I knew how to like handle boredom, right? To your point, you go outside, but if the weather's crummy, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Find something to do.
But they're always board games.
Being bored.
You know? Like you said, there was always something to do when you were bored. You know, I don't know.
Well, you were forced to figure it out, right?
Yeah. Nowadays, it's like, dang, okay, I'll get on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. All right, we're gonna stay on here for a good hour, and next thing you know, your life did pass you by. So that's crazy how the times have changed drastically, in my opinion. Because even when social media started coming out, I still was being a kid. I was able to do that. I don't think that kids have the opportunity to do that. They more so like many adults at this point.
Yeah.
But so going back to your brand, what is your main goal? Your brand.
I want to see plus size kids thriving. I want to see them able to do the activities that they love, whatever that is. And I want them to just be like other kids, get to be like other kids. They shouldn't have to think of their bodies as being a project. They shouldn't have to think that there's things wrong with their bodies. They should be able to show up, know that they're going to have clothing that fits, and they can just, play basketball or dance and do all these things with their friends and just get to be kids. That's what I want for them.
And that sounds fun. That sounds lovely. Because it's like, you're not different. Everybody should be, at least feel like you're equal, like you have equal opportunities as the same as other people. And it just doesn't make sense, the fact that, I can't pick my clothes, so I can't move how I want to, so I can be the best I can be, So I think that's great. Do you expect to expand like your brand options?
Yeah, for sure. I have a 5-piece collection that we just launched, and our production run just finished about a month ago. So yay. It just takes a lot of time to sort of develop patterns and to fit test patterns, but I would absolutely love to expand into a lot of other areas. I'm already hearing from folks that obviously leotards, and then something that's very similar and easy to also do at the same time would be swimwear.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. And then it's a knits collection right now, but I would like to do like hiking pants, which are woven. So there's a ton of space to expand, but I wanted to do this basic essentials collection first to sort of get more feedback on fit. And this is a collection that kids can wear to play sports, but you can also, because it's basics, You can wear it to go ride your bike or to go to the park or to
The
even
base.
just hang out with your friends. You know what I mean? So trying to sort of start very simply and then really wanting to expand, but sort of waiting to hear from folks. Like, what is like the very next sort of round of designs that we need to figure out, and taking feedback from people and sort of making some decisions based on that. So starting with this and then hopefully, yeah, growing from there.
That's right. That's cool. I look forward to it. I would like to see this. And it's crazy because you were in the tech business, right? And you were just
Right. I
like,
was an IT project manager for a really long time.
and you were just like, something got to change.
Well, I mean, I will say, if you're going to solve a problem, if you're going to start a business, I really think it has to be a problem that you understand to some degree and that you're passionate about, because it's going to be hard. And if you're going to put your time and energy and your money on the line to do something like this, it has to be something that you care a lot about. And so that was really the catalyst for me deciding to start. And, you know, being a project manager is a really good skill set to actually draw from, because you have to figure out all the things you need to do. What are the steps? And then how do I break them down? And it also makes it very easy for me to say, I don't know about manufacturing clothing, so I'm going to work with someone that does,
Yeah.
and going out and finding the right people to partner with. And so there's something sort of freeing about not having to feel like I know everything. And so it's easier for me to step up and ask for, partners that I can work with to say, like, look, I want you to partner with me on designing these patterns and doing these kinds of things. So yeah, it's a huge departure from what I used to do, but at some point I think a lot of people will find you have this thing that you're just really passionate about. And I thought about it for a long time, and I was like, you don't know apparel design, you don't know how to manufacture things. What are you doing? But I got to the point where I'm like, I can learn. I can
Yeah.
work with people that I know, can work with people that know. Like, it doesn't have to be a roadblock. I'm letting it be a roadblock, but it doesn't have to be. So.
I'm glad you took that step to try something new, and you weren't afraid of self growth and trying something new to make change in this world that is needed and necessary. Because I feel like a lot of people let that hold them back from being great, and I think this is going to turn into something huge. There's a lot of people out here, even if you're not plus size, you like in the dead smack in the middle, you still out here looking for, different clothes and stuff, and you can't find it. So this is a great opportunity for kids. Do you think that you would do like adult as plus wear as well, or just kids?
I think for now, I do think there are some brands that are doing a better job, particularly when you get into adult
Adult.
sizes. And so I think right now I'm going to focus on kids, because I feel like there's really not much out there. And so this is the group of people that I feel like needs the most support at this stage of the game. But I mean, who knows? Who knows what can come next? I might just, keep going up and add adult sizes as well. But I mean, for now, I feel like this is the biggest gap in the market, and so this is where I'm going to focus. But I think one of the biggest mistakes you can make as a brand or as a company is to not pay attention. And if I start getting a lot of feedback, from adults that are like,
Let me
hey,
have some clothes. Where are your clothes?
right? I mean,
I
so
see
part
some.
of it is just trying to stay open. I'm trying to stay open and
Yeah,
listen, and we'll see. But that's not currently in the plans. But they say never say never.
that's true. That's true. The same thing. I was like, I'm just going to do this podcast because, I think people need to love themselves. Well, it's a host to there why I did the podcast, but I get it. I do get it as well, because it's like if people need it. It's like this,
Yes.
you don't expect it to go anywhere, because I didn't expect it to go anywhere, but it went somewhere. So it's like,
And here you are.
just be open to
Yeah.
new opportunities, because you never know what comes your way. You never know who comes your way. And I've met some people, some good people with doing this. So yeah, don't be be open, like you said. It's really exciting. So as far as shopping for clothes, like what are some tips that you would give like parents when they're like looking for clothes for plus size kids?
You absolutely have to have body measurements for your child. You have to have chest, waist, and hip measurements because almost every single brand, particularly online, is going to have a size guide or a fit chart, right? So that's going to help you find the right size to fit your kid. And if you can afford it, I typically recommend, if you're not sure, ordering a couple of sizes and then you can return the ones that don't fit, because I think we've all experienced it. You try something on and it doesn't fit, and then you're just crushed. So until you know the right size, like I think we all have sort of figured out, you may have 3 different sizes in your closet because there's not really a standard, but I think we've all figured out what size you are in a given brand. So you're like, in this brand, I wear an extra large. In this brand, I wear a large. In this brand, I wear, you know what I mean? So once you figure that out, but until you do, order a couple of sizes so that you can almost have
options.
You have options. And I treat it almost like a little like personal shopping thing at home. Buy a few things, try them all on. And if something doesn't fit, you're very easily can switch that out. And it's going to sort of cut off that spiral that can happen in your brain where you're like, this doesn't fit my body. And then you just get really bummed out. So order a couple of sizes until you sort of learn the sizes that work for your kid. And again, the problem with fit is not your body, it's the clothing. Right. So don't get too caught up in there's something wrong with my body. Nah, this just doesn't fit right. This brand doesn't fit me right in this size. So I'm going to try something different. And it's a lot of trial and error. And also, don't be afraid to sort of shop multiple departments. Even for me, I have some t-shirts that I like that I got from the men's section. I have, most of my stuff comes from the women's section, but sometimes, like if you have a younger child, I used to shop in the boys section for my daughter because the legs on the shorts and the pants are cut wider than they are in the girls section.
More movement area with men versus women. Women's is like tight. Like,
yeah.
It's like, where's the room?
Sometimes you can find a way to sort of, you know what I mean? Like, so when my daughter was younger, sometimes we'd look for shorts in the boys section in particular, or pants, because they were just cut much wider through the leg. So just shop a lot of different departments if you can, right? Like don't just stick to one section.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right. And sizing up will usually work for a while. And then I try to find things that have like cuffs on them, particularly like on pants on the bottom, so you can turn it up, or it's not going to be pulling at your feet. So
okay.
Yeah. But the big thing is you got to know their measurements so that you can find sizes.
I can only imagine. I could only imagine. So do you have like set brands that work for y'all, or
for me, or like for my daughter? It's kind of all over the place. But I mean, there are a few other brands that do some plus size for kids. I know Land's End and Target both have like 1X, 2X for kids.
Okay.
So there are a few brands that go, up to like a 2X for kids. We go up to a 4X for kids, which I don't think there's anyone that's going quite that high. But and I think, Old Navy and Land's End are the ones that I think of immediately because they also do school uniforms, which I know can get tricky. And there's actually, I think I have on my website a list of tips for shopping. I'll send you a link that folks can check out.
You guys as well.
Yeah. But they also work for adults. I mean, and it's a lot of the same stuff. Know your measurements, shop multiple departments, right? That still applies even if you're an adult. So
no, I agree. Can't just shop in one. It ain't no one-stop shop no more sometimes. But yeah, that's true. That's really cool though. I know. And
I try to think of it more as like a treasure hunt and less of like a slogging. You know what I mean? Like trying to turn it. Okay, I'm on a treasure hunt. I'm on a treasure hunt, and it's gonna take multiple steps.
But I'm gonna be comfortable.
Yeah, I'm gonna be comfortable. But yeah, it can get a little tiring. Just sort of all the trial and error. It's not always easy or fun, but we'll get there.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. Well, hopefully with you though, we ain't gotta worry about that no more.
Hopefully.
Yes. Okay. So the last thing I want to ask you is, what is something that you live by? Like, what's some a saying or motto that you live by?
It's so funny. My daughter, when she was younger, loved the show Mythbusters that was on for a really long time. And they would take all kinds of science and prove and disprove things. But Adam Savage has a motto that failure is always an option. Because I want my daughter and most kids to get more comfortable with failing. I like the scientific sort of definition and treatment of failure. Failure is necessary to sort of learn and change your hypothesis and change things in your approach. And so this whole exercise in building a brand has been about small failures along the way. I've made mistakes. I've gotten things wrong, but it wasn't the end of the world. And so trying to sort of teach that to my daughter, failure is always an option. And it's because it's changing how you think about failure. It's just failure is a necessary step on the path to success. You don't get to success unless you failed somewhere along the way. Really, I don't see how that's even possible. So
That's realistic. That's true.
Just sort of changing my own relationship with failure and hopefully my daughter's as well.
That's really good. Well, we're so happy to have you today. I really did enjoy this, and I want to thank you for allowing us to have you and taking the time out to be here. I hope that everybody got something from what you said and what both of us what was discussed. Because we really do got to make that awareness of being different and understanding and being okay with that. So I agree. I really did appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I know I did. I will leave links in the description box for the resource page, for Pam's resource page, when it comes to shopping for a plus size kid or just yourself as well. And I will also leave her link for her Instagram page and her website if you would like to shop and support her business. It would be greatly appreciated. So yes, guys, I hope you enjoyed everything, and enjoy the rest of your week. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.